discuss the Virginia Range horses, not to be held accountable for the Department of Taxation. Just want to throw that out there. We also have representatives from the City Arena to discuss a little bit about a project that they are doing as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Goycochea.
We're on. All right, thank you. And Director Goycochea, for the record, Nevada Department of Agriculture, County Manager Solero, Chair Hill, thank you very much for approving an agenda that puts a state agency immediately behind that presentation. We are from the state, but we are not here to help with C-tax distribution. I spent 3 terms sitting where you are, so I can understand that. I appreciate that very much. I do have Deputy Director Doug Ferris here with me today. Thank you for accommodating us. We will be brief. I'm sure there may be some questions on this, and definitely value your time here. And we do have to get back and see if we can't relight some of our agency and get moving forward with that. So real quick updates on Virginia Range Feral and Estray horses. What are the Virginia Range horses? So it's commonly referred to as VRE, Virginia Range Estray. And how we got there in 1984, the BLM declared the Virginia Range wild horse free. So what's that mean? You've heard about the 1971 Free Roaming Wild Horse and Burro Act. These horses do not fall underneath that as actions taken in 1984 by the BLM. Those horses were at that time deemed estray horses. There was a large ranching operation in that area for many years, and a lot of these horses are actually descendants that came from that ranching operation. So they are managed under NRS 569, which we have the sole authority in the state of Nevada, the Department of Ag does, to manage feral and estray livestock. And that is what these horses are. They've migrated there over time before fencing was completed in some areas, and they've also just reproduced from those original horses that were there from that ranching operation that were not claimed, and those horses that were there in 1984. We also do know that horses are continuing to be turned out on that Virginia Range, and they do fall under our jurisdiction. Now, I want to note that anywhere we manage animals, livestock everywhere in the state of Nevada, all 17 counties. Stray animals everywhere else, we pick them up, we advertise them. Can we find the owner? If not, we sell them, we place them at that point. That's what we do. We are managing these differently, number one, because of the number of them, and historically, that is what has been done. So where is the Virginia Range? The north boundary is Interstate 80 as it runs through the canyon. One of our favorite, transitory pathways, we will call it at this point. East boundary, Highway 95A, along by Fernley. The south boundary is US 50 and the northern outskirts of Carson City to exclude those residential areas. West boundary, East Lake Boulevard, Old US 395, and Veterans Parkway. Now, East Lake Boulevard was always fenced off. And that Washoe Lake, the Scripps, those sensitive areas were fenced off. That fence is in disrepair, and we'll get into a little bit here in a minute of what Nevada is as a fence-out state. So as we started looking at this and we knew we were having public safety concerns, the one thing we knew we could not do was put that East Lake Boulevard fence back up. That was just going to provide a place for horses to congregate, and that is a very busy roadway, as you all know anymore. The last thing we can do is have horses standing on a fence with the traffic that is on that road. So how do we manage these horses? There is no general fund money for these horses, and we manage those from programs in the Division of Animal Industry. That includes brand recording fees, brand inspection fees, and estray livestock fees. So the livestock industry are what funds this program that we manage the VRE horses with. No other money that comes into that for a day-to-day basis. We were fortunate enough to get some money a few years ago through USDA. APHIS, our partners there, we did get some earmark money out of Congress, and we have spent that money, and most of that, 75%, was spent on public safety, fencing, and continued investment on where we need to do additional fencing to protect the public safety. We monitor welfare, relocation, and fertility control. Now, we have great cooperating partners that we have agreements with, and it is their responsibility. We work well with them. If we have horses on roadways where they don't belong, we have horses on properties where they don't belong, we contact those entities, and they can remove those horses and put them in a safe place. We do put a lot of horses adopt them into homes through that as well. And then our fertility control is being done by another one of our cooperative partners, and that is across the range. And we do have another one of those agreements in place at this time that will run through September and October of next year. So I talk about public safety and how that is bordered by 4 major highways, all kinds of residential areas. In 24 alone, we had 36 reported, and it's actually 37 now reported vehicle collisions. We had to update that from going back through our data. In 23, we had 42 reported crashes. In 22, there were 24. In 21, there were 27. In 2020, we had 46 reported crashes. So when I first came to the agency, back to the agency as a director, we heard you and we heard the city of Reno loudly. We have public safety concerns. We actually received a letter from the chief of police of Reno that we can't do this. Our officers are responding. We're continuing to see these collisions, and some of these are higher speed roads, and they're in congested areas. So we took that very seriously, and that's when we started looking at how can we make this separation between those congested areas and these horses to protect our motoring public, to protect our children in our parks and in our own backyards and front yards. And so that is why we went the direction that we did. I think it should be important to note the census numbers. In 1997, there were 413 horses on the range. In 2002, there were 1,274. 2008, 1,448. In 14, 1,959. In 18, 2,951. And in 22, 3,567. So we have a lot of horses. And that postage stamp that they're living on is shrinking with continued development. We know that it is. And again, we don't want to see any animals suffer. We don't want to see any animals that are impacted on our highways. And more importantly, we want to protect our public. We do need to note it is illegal to feed and water the horses. They are a stray livestock. And the statutes are clear. We cannot take up livestock. We cannot feed and water the livestock that are out there. If you have them and they're there, give us a call. If you need us to remove them, we will work with our partners. We can do that if they're in an area that they do not belong or if they're causing concern for public safety. Nevada is a fence-out state. As I said, NRS 569-431 is clear what a legal fence is, and it's up to that property owner to fence that out. You know, we hear a lot of talk, well, that's BLM out there. Again, that's a horse-free area. It's been deemed horse-free. The BLM doesn't have any horses out there. We are thankful we have a good working relationship with the BLM. Should the Bureau of Land Management decide to and trespass the state of Nevada for those horses that are out there, that happens everywhere else in the state. If there are stray and feral livestock that do not belong there, there's a trespass order, and those animals are gathered. So thankfully, it has not come to that, but they do not have a right under the 1971 Act to be there. So yes, we are in the process of repairing and constructing areas of fencing along the Virginia Range. We started at Jumbo and worked our way north. Jumbo, as many of you know, I'm sure all of you know, in the Washoe Valley area, we worked our way north. The reason we did that, we have been working with the city of Reno. They had a fencing project. I know some of them are here. We'll let them speak here in just a second on what they are doing. We tied our fence in early this summer into where we agreed to await the terminus of their fence in that same area. So again, we can better secure South Reno and those areas that are very, very congested. So we want to thank them for their partnership in that. They have been great to work with. As we told them, this is where we're going. Where are you going? We've adjusted our lines to make sure that they do come out in that same place. We don't want to leave a funnel. We don't want to leave a gap. We don't want to leave corners where we can trap livestock. That's the other thing. You can make a lot of crazy fences and a lot of corners, and you end up with horses standing in corners where they shouldn't be. Livestock normally do not like fenced corners. So I'm almost out of time, and I promised myself I'd be done. So we will stop here for questions. We just have a little flyer here that our group had put together, Heed the Herd. I'll let you read that for yourself. You guys can all read. You don't need me to read that to you. So if there are any questions, Deputy Director Ferris and I are happy to answer those. Or do we want to go on to the city of Reno? And then questions?
Well,
it's up to you, ma'am.
Well, Director Goicoechea, thank you so much for taking the time and being so patient for this item to come up. I'll have open it up to the board to see if there are any questions right now, midway through. Commissioner Clark, you'd ask for
I just want to thank you for your presentation. It was enlightening, exactly what's taking place, and I think if the public really understands what's taking place as far as what your responsibilities are, what the state's responsibilities are. They'd have a different viewpoint on what's taking place. Also, I want to point out item 7E3 on our agenda today. I'm donating discretionary funds, $5,000 to the prison for training Mustang. So I think fencing is one part of it. Birth control is another part of it. Adopting these animals out is another part of it. Let's put all these pieces together and see if we can get this problem at least reduced, because the population that you just read through and how it's growing, we could have 10,000 horses here in a couple of years if continues this way. So it's a big problem for a lot of things: safety reasons, car crashes, cost to the municipalities for having emergency vehicles show up, and just so many different levels. And there's got to be a better way to do this. And somebody said earlier that people are shooting them, and that's not the answer. Rounding them up is maybe not the answer, but maybe birth control, adoption, fencing, water, whatever it takes to solve this problem. And thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, for Commissioner Clark. We are committed to continue to work through that with all our partners. And I should know that we're here with you guys today, but we also have conversations regularly with Lyon County. We have conversations with folks in Carson City. You're not alone in how we're dealing with this, and we've had a lot of conversations with the city of Reno too. So we will continue to work on this. That's one thing. I'm hard-headed. I don't give up.
Great. And Commissioner Andriolo?
I don't really have any questions. I just want to say thank you, and I'd be remiss to not also thank you for bringing back the state fair for everyone's dates, June 10th through the 14th, if I got those dates correct, if I remember. But I do really want to thank you. I know that you're doing a lot with pretty much nothing, right, in terms of no funding, and the livestock fees don't necessarily cover everything that you need. And I think it is a collective effort, and thanks to the city of Reno and to everyone who's doing what they can to resolve a big situation that's occurring. So thank you.
And I love the NAY acronym. That's great there. So very clever. Clever work. And I want to get some of the